Okay, there are some papers coming around. It's 4:14. I'm going to take the luxury of getting started a minute early. Also, I killed a few extra trees. I think it'll go quicker to have the handbook discussion if there is a copy with the colored font in here. I didn't make enough for everybody to have one, so if you would share with your neighbor, just take one, every other one of you, please. I think there'll be enough to do that. My goal is to be out of here by 5:13. So hopefully 5:13.
Great. Should I start the stopwatch now?
Start now. Push the easy button. Quite a bit to do, but I think most of them will be relatively quick discussions. Hopefully you didn't lose the paperwork since I got it out to you unusually early.
I almost dropped my teeth there.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing when school is not in session. I've got 4 more here if somebody wants their own individual copy. Anybody?
Is it the same as the one you gave us the other day, or did you change?
There are minimal changes, so you probably ought to.
And then pass them on back there.
Oh, yeah. That was close. Okay, first item on the agenda to approve the agenda. Anybody see anything? All those in favor of approving the agenda, if you'd raise your hand, please. Opposed, same sign. Okay, the agenda is approved. I got out the minutes from the March 8th meeting were sent out to you. Does anyone see anything there you want to discuss? All those in favor of approving the March 8th minutes, please raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. The minutes are approved. There was a very, very short document with the meet and confer minutes. I guess technically, since only 6 of you were there, if you were at the meet and confer meeting, you would vote, and if you weren't, don't, because you won't know what you're voting on. Anybody see anything in the meet and confer minutes?
Did we have?
Yes, they're on
Did I
there.
thought I said
They're on.
it's like
It's
2
just-
lines.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
It
it's
was
very,
two
very short.
lines.
Boom.
Yeah. It was so quick you forgot it?
Yep.
Okay, that's it.
Looks great.
All in favor of approving the meet and confer minutes, please raise your hand. Opposed, same sign. All right, thank you.
Raise my hand later.
We'll catch you anyway, Julie. Update on the staff reassignment progress. As I've been doing, I made the current update, the bigger font, and everything else is tinier. As of 4/6, and actually I updated that yesterday, I just forgot to change the date. We have, it was 13 displaced teachers, 5 elementary and 8 secondary. Now it is 1 elementary and 6 secondary, and we have 5 classified staff remaining.
How many, 5?
5. With the classified staff, I am 99% confident we will be able to offer them positions. Are they going to be the same positions that they had? I mean, in the same employee group even? Possibly not. In fact, I'd say with some of them, probably not. We would be able to offer them employment, but not necessarily the same job class that they had before. With the teachers, I have 2 social studies, 2 business, 1 K-12 music, 1 ELA, and 1 FACS, family and consumer science. There are rumors out there that 2 of those people, that 1 of those people has been offered and is waiting for board approval from a different district, and there is 1 that I believe we will be able to place here that I know of right now. We're also a long time till school starting, so I'm hopeful that we'll be able to get everybody a position that wants to be with us, or else that they'll find something else. Any questions on that? All right. The employee handbook. To me, there aren't a lot of substantive changes, but I want to go through this, so if you'll look and share with your partner. Obviously, anytime there was a date in there, it's been changed from 17 to 18. Those things I'm not even going to point out. But first, if you look at page 6, if Dr. Van Zyl wants to have a letter be part of this handbook, as has been in the past, we'll insert his letter there. On page 8, this is a relatively new, did we talk about this at policy committee?
No, we talked about it at
Oh,
our
at our
pre-United
pre-United SJSD meeting. Just a wording change. There are a couple of places where it said customer, and I thought that the word partner was a better fit for the kind of relationship we wanted with our stakeholders. Especially in the paragraph right in the middle of the page. In addition, SJSD employees have partners in the form of colleagues. Like, you know, if you're teaching in a building, you're a first grade teacher, your second grade teacher next door isn't your customer, they're your partner, the way I see it. So I just thought maybe that was a better term. And is the world going to be any better for changing that? Probably not, but I think it is a little more applicable to what we do. Anybody have any concerns with that wording? All right. Page 22. I went through all of this at the board meeting, and I'm sure all of you were either there or were paying close attention at home on your TV while it was going live. On the bottom of page 22, that paragraph going through the top of the next page to where flex time guidelines start, that is wording directly from board policy GCJ. The reason I decided to put it in there is we have gotten quite a few questions dealing with that topic, and I'm finding that even fewer people read the board policies than do the handbook. So I'm thinking a few more people will see it if it's actually part of the handbook. There again, it's right out of the board policy. Any problems with that particular issue? And then the flex time guidelines and the salaried staff discretionary leave, that's verbatim what has already been through this group and through the meet and confer process. Any questions on anything there? And I felt like that was the best place in the handbook for it under the working hours and schedule. Alrighty, page 24, this is a miniature change, but I just included the word ICE in number 1 there about a third of the way down the page because it's included in the title but wasn't in number 1. And a lot of times they are ice days. That's more typical probably than snow. Page 27, that's just date changes, we can skip those. Page 35. This deals with board policies GCBDA and GDBDA, the employee leave policies. The paragraph in red there comes from what was approved by the board at their February 26th meeting, suspending for whatever amount of time the employee leave buyback, part of the policy. That is current board policy, so I felt like it should be there. Anything following that that is stricken through is going on to page 36, is language that no longer applies because of the February 26th decision from the board. So to me it makes sense to eliminate confusion until if or when the board changes that back. I think that stricken through language just needs to come out of the policy. And if at some point in time the board reinstitutes the employee leave buyback, you know, I'll have an electronic record of this. We'll just reinsert that and take out the red paragraph. Are you guys in agreement that that would be the least confusing?
Especially to new employees, I would think.
Yeah, at this point. Okay.
In the actual policy, is it being left in the policy with the strike through, but just in the handbook it's being taken out?
GCBDA and GDBDA, we would need to remove it from there also, I think.
I thought we said we were leaving it so that it would be there to go back when it was reinstated.
Well, there's no problem getting it back. We've got electronic record of it.
When,
I thought at this meeting though, that's what we had said.
Well,
my only concern or question would be, I mean, obviously, we will all have a copy of this somewhere, but not digitally. But if you leave, or if there's a big turnover in everybody in your office or whatever, will all of that be easily accessible? I mean, that's kind of my question. And will people remember, other than us, that this was it? That was kind of our intent
Okay.
with leaving it in,
Is
but
there a way to take it out of the handbook but still leave it in the policy
Well,
with
sure.
as stricken through? To make it
I'm-
less confusing for
I'm
new
content with
employees, because
that.
this is what they tend to read
Yes.
versus policy.
Mini board, what do you think?
I'm good with that.
Okay, well, I have no problem with it. I do think it's important that it come out of the handbook,
That's
because the
fine.
first-year employee is gonna go,
Well,
okay,
what is it?
what's all this?
And they're not gonna understand.
But maybe with your
Right.
new employees, you might wanna let them know that, so that they're
Okay.
aware of that.
All
I
right,
just
well,
don't want it to
I'm
be
fine.
forgotten, that's my.
Dr. Newhart?
Logistical speaking, though, with MSBA and their updates, it might be to where it sits off the side, like in an AP format, but it wouldn't be an AP format. You kind of understand the point on that?
Like an
Call that like an
attachment.
addendum
Well,
or
MSBA is
attachment
gonna
to it.
be doing the full updates.
Yeah,
I don't know if they would want that or not.
is this in a section we've already gone through?
This
It
is in G, in personnel, and that's
So
already
it'll
been.
be
I
stricken through with
guess,
the red,
it'd be-
they're not gonna
it's
touch the
right,
rest
it's
of
in
it.
section G.
yeah.
One way or the other, we can get it there.
I just don't want us to forget about it.
Any other comments on that section?
I was.
Okay, if you look at page 37, one of the things that I did was at the very top there, you'll see G, H, and I, or I in red print. That was because I took those three items and moved them from the section that required dual signature and moved them to the section that did not. I'm assuming no one has any issues with that. That's less hoops for employees. I did change the lettering because one of them, observance of religious holiday, was previously I, and I made it J so that it could stay in the section requiring dual signature. So right now, all that's left in dual signature are JK, LM, and then on page 39, we've been doing this anyway, but I thought it needed to be in print. I put how we've been dealing with wellness days that people have earned through participation in the wellness program. Any questions, comments, issues with any of that?
Maybe I'm wrong, but is that date that's in there, 17-18 school year, so what you get this year, you use for next year, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to verify. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and what we've been doing is every year picking the last Friday of April
Okay.
for them to be used. There are so many absences in May, we really want people to use them before that if possible. Any other questions on that? All right, let's look at page 40. At the very top, I inserted 12-month into that sentence, just for clarification purposes, because part-time, non-12-month staff don't get even a percentage of vacation. The only people that get vacation are 12-month people, so for clarification purposes, I think that needs to be in there. The remaining red on that page is information that was in previous editions of the employee handbook, and I'll be real honest with you, I don't know how it got left out of there, but it did, but it's back. No changes to the wording that was there. Any questions on that section? Right, then on page 41, let's see what that's in there, okay. Toward the top, with bereavement leave, we added documentation of attendance at the funeral must be submitted within 5 days of the absence for consistency's sake with what we were requiring for funerals. That can be anything. It can be a program from the service. It can be a link to a website that gives the obituary, anything. that we need to,
Does that need to be sent, oh, that's been a question. Does that need to be sent to you, your office?
mhm,
Okay,
yeah.
I know. Karen
Another,
asked it.
another question that did come up was with bereavement leave, which kind of goes back to your other stuff is, what if it's a student or a student's parent in your building?
That would not be bereavement leave. You could attend the funeral as someone that's close to you, and it would come out of your leave bank as a funeral leave.
Okay.
Other questions? All right, skip ahead to page 65. This, we added section 17.2, well, a new 17.2, terminations. Employees with or without contracts that are terminated for cause or are allowed to resign in lieu of termination shall be ineligible for future employment with the St. Joseph School District. Have also requested of the board to add that to policy GCPE. Currently, that language is not in there. It would be added in 3 sections, one that's non-certified with contract, non-certified without contract, and certified. So that verbiage would show up in there 3 times.
Donna sent that to us, and it was really good, so,
Okay.
yeah.
On that, if somebody is not asked back for next year's school year, does that mean that they're not eligible to say sub anywhere for this wage?
The intent of this is for full-time employment. You meant if they wanted to come back as a substitute teacher, we would give them a shot at that, see
Okay.
how they did. Just so you guys, I'm sorry.
Not for cause.
Not for
You terminate
cause.
for cause.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I think she was thinking about riffing. Were you thinking about riffing? Oh,
Oh, okay, that's what I thought you were
I'm using
talking
the
about.
example, if you didn't get a very good evaluation and you're not asked back to
if-
be a.
That wouldn't be necessarily for cause. I mean,
No. Cause would be you molest a child, you steal something, you commit a crime.
Okay.
If it's something like, we expect an average of 4 on your walkthroughs and you got a 3.8, so we didn't ask you back, that would be something that we would, on an individual basis, probably say, yeah, we'll give you an opportunity to sub if you want to.
but if they like got a 1, then probably not.
Yeah, if you got a 1, we're probably not going to
I mean,
ask you.
seriously, if we
Yeah.
didn't hire him back, we probably don't want him subbing.
Dr. Kraus, this rehire is mentioned also on page 21, so we might want to make the language match.
You're so thorough.
She's thorough.
You mean just add it?
Well, it says rehire. I mean, it kind of says the same thing, but one says generally not eligible, and the other word is shall be ineligible.
Okay. Well, if they're classified as ineligible for rehire, I would just take the word normally out of there. If they're ineligible for rehire, that means they've done something that we've let them go for cause. If somebody had a little too low of evaluations, we're not gonna put ineligible for rehire on them.
So just taking the word normally
I think
out
if we
means
take
that.
normal, if we take the word normally out of there, that
Right.
would
And the-
solve that.
And in the paragraph above, if you take out the word generally.
Generally.
That's like kind of always saying that.
The evaluation question was a concern of mine in this part, because if maybe we have a first-year teacher or second-year teacher who's got some low evaluations, they go to another district, they get better, their evaluations from there are great, they want to come back to this area, they're eligible for rehire.
I would say they wouldn't have been let go for cause unless it was something heinous.
Right, so that was my
I
question or concern with this part, without knowing, because there's no distinction between Right, well, where is the definition of cause? Where is that? I guess that's a good question to start with.
As I say, what's cause, yeah.
Right, who considers cause?
That's arbitrarily,
Yeah, you're not,
Right.
you'd have a 58-page definition if you tried to write down everything that could potentially be cause.
Usually
That's an
cause is
administrative
usually
decision.
something criminal or associated or thought to have been. It doesn't have to actually be criminal, but it's pretty close to it if it isn't. So, you know, a low,
performance could be if it's,
If you're leaving your class unattended constantly or something like that, which puts children in danger,
Safe.
that could be cause.
Right.
If it's, you know, your classroom management's a little, not quite what we need, and you only keep busy instructionally for 2/3 of the period, and we want you to do 3/4, that would be something that you can grow through.
Right.
Yeah, so, is there a one easy answer? No, there isn't, and it's usually administrative decision on what is determined cause. Luckily, we don't deal with this a whole lot, but there are times. Any other questions on that? Thanks for catching that, Michelle, I'm glad you saw that. Okay, lastly, page 68, and that is on there only, I think this year was the first year that you signed handbooks electronically, is that correct, or was it the second year? I can't remember. Anyway, from henceforth and forevermore, at least next year, it'll be an electronic signature again, so I just made some notations. Although there will be paper copies of these around, it's your responsibility as employees of the district to know where it's located and to know what's in it. Basically, that's what the sign-off says. Questions there? Okay, this is one thing, I would like to have a meet and confer right after we're done with the other part of the meeting. Hopefully this will be something that we can get processed through. So, any questions about any part of this before we move on? Alrighty. Substitutes or lack thereof. I know we don't have enough subs. I also have not the slightest idea how to solve that, except, it's not gonna help this year, but next year we will have a pool of approximately 28 active retirees who are not coming back to fulfill classroom roles with us. I'm hoping that the large majority of those people will say, you know, I want to do my 550 hours subbing. That would give us a great pool of very, I'm sorry, did I miss something?
Make that number 27 of
Yeah,
the 28.
Okay, 27
We
of
won't
them.
name names.
I would hope 27 of them will be willing to come back and sub for us occasionally. You know, if they opt to use their hours that way, that's a lot of days of subbing. And it would be people who know our system, know our kids. It would be a win-win for us, definitely. I checked what we pay subs is as high as anybody around. It's not that we're paying them less. Even if they're here for an hour, we pay them for a half day. If they're here for 15 minutes more than a half day, we pay them for a full day. I just don't know what else we do. If any of you have any bright ideas, I'm willing to listen, but
Change our population.
well, like I said, I'm hopeful that we'll have an influx of people because of those retirees not having the 550 jobs to come back in and sub for us, other than Lori, she's gonna boycott.
She'll be back, trust me.
I'll bake you cookies and bring you cookies.
All right, any other questions, comments on subs?
you can travel.
Okay.
Is there, I do have a question.
Sure.
Is there any sort of, other than in SubFinder or ASOP, is there any sort of way of evaluating subs?
You are supposed to be able to leave feedback anytime somebody subs in your.
Right, but I mean, in terms of, like, does
A
that
formal
go
evaluation.
to, does that go to anyone else besides the sub who's looking at their own feedback?
Well, my office has access to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just asking for, like, stories that I've heard of, I've come back to my own classroom to have students say that sub was asleep during half the class, or,
you know, and
Well,
so,
and certainly if something like that happens, I hope you guys all feel free to call the HR office and talk to Lisa and say, you know, Sammy Smith subbed in my class today and the kid said he slept half the time. Let us know that. I mean, we get reports like that, we call them in and at the very least talk to them and say, tell us about this. We have let a number of subs go this year because of that exact same thing. So yeah, contact us if you have an issue with somebody. Anything else on subs? Okay, discussion of group composition. Hopefully you all have this paper it's really pretty. It's got black and red, and mine's got blue because I put it on there. And then also the administrative procedures for GCQD. In my simple way, I've looked at this and I've said, I think the intent of having some 3-year people and some 2-year people, and you guys were here, a number of you, when this was developed, I think the original purpose was so that not the entire group ever turned over in any one year. Is that correct? Correct. So as I look at this, I grouped our members into a number of categories. Our classified staff, our teacher reps toward the middle, superintendent appointees, board appointees, and then those of us who are fortunate enough to be lifetime members. Okay? On the top section, we've got Jamie. Unfortunately, Julie Strong will not be able to be a part of our group next year, and we're very, very sad about that. The nutrition services folks have their own collective bargaining unit, and part of this says that if you have that, you're not able to participate. So if somebody wants to bring cupcakes for next time, Julie will eat them.
I will.
So as I'm looking at this list, Julie has a strike through there. We've got Jamie, Julie, Kelly, Roy, Amy, and Tubid. In my mind, it makes sense since there are 6 of them, make 3 of them 2018 when their term ends, and 3 of them 2019 when their term ends. Julie Bacon, I talked to Julie and Kelly and Amy beforehand. They had not been naughty, in case any of you thought that was. Julie has indicated that she is busy to the point where she feels like she would want to step off at this point. So I thought we would make hers a 2018 reappointment. And then that Roy Lashbrook is not going to be with the district next year, so it made sense to make his a 2018. And Tubid, we don't know about him or her, but let's make them a 2018. So we have 3 groups in: clerical, technical professional, and building support 2, that at the end of this year would need to have elections. Anybody who's in that group and wants to be considered would be nominated, have a vote, top vote getter, would be a part of our group then for the next 2 years. Anything from this point on would be a 2-year term. Moving down to the teacher group there, the 4 of you, in my mind it made sense, Melissa and Eric to be the 3-year people because you've been with us. Lori is leaving. Kyla, it's really your first year with us anyway. Now with the teacher groups, you can elect whoever you want. I mean, and I don't care how you do your elections. That's your business. If you want to say our elected officials are these, here's our reps to United SJSD. So however you want to handle that, that's fine. We're 4 years off yet from anybody running into the 6-year term limit that's addressed in the document. So whoever the MSTA and NEA say, those are our reps, that's who we'll do. I do think it's important that we start thinking in terms of positions rather than people. So like whoever replaces Julie Bacon would be a 2-year term up for re-election in 2020. Okay. Now remember, there is no reason that any of you, if all 6 were filled with people and we were asking 3 people to step off, those people could apply for re-election. there's nothing that says it can't. And it's to a maximum of 6 years, and then I think our bylaws say you have to be off for 2, and then you can come back. But again, we're a ways away from that. Michelle and Paul, those are superintendent appointees. I don't know if you guys know or not, this is public, isn't it?
Yeah.
Paul is leaving the district, so it makes sense between the two of them. Michelle, as far as I know, is coming back, at least as of today.
She is today.
She's like,
I am
yeah.
So in my mind, it made sense to have hers be like the 3-year term and Paul's the 2. Dr. Newhart, that's really in your ballpark. Do you have any problem with that? Okay.
I guess my question would be, do you want to just wait for Dr. Van Zyl?
I think that's up to you. If you want to appoint somebody, I think you could. If you want to wait for him, I think that's fine. That's fine too. We won't be meeting till August, so.
Is he, why you, like, it seems like a perfect place to ask that. Is he okay with this format? I mean, like, is this something that you
It's
feel like?
board policy.
Okay, so.
Yeah, so to my knowledge, it's really not been discussed with him. It is a board policy, so if he didn't like it, it would need to go through
Okay.
the policy change route. Then the 2 board members, again, that's a board action that appoints to various committees, usually through volunteering.
But I will be rotating off.
Okay. If I understood correctly, the only change prior to July 1 would be on the scholarship committee.
Correct.
Because Dennis rotated, Dennis is no longer a board member, so he was replaced. But
So
all
we're
other
staying through
changes
the end of the year.
through the fiscal year. That was the way I understood it. Is that okay?
So then you'll be replaced come fall.
Okay, and then Director of Finance and myself and Bridget, those are permanent positions. Does that sound okay to everyone? All right, so what I will do is with the clerical and technology professional and building support too, we'll ask them to, I think we talked last time about having the election yet this year,
Yes.
because we won't have time to get somebody for an August meeting ready to go if we wait to elect till next school year. So I'll contact them and we'll ask them to have an election for someone to take membership the August meeting of 2018. Everybody good with that? All righty. Dr. Newhart, you got the floor, or the podium, or the whatever you want.
I want to be in front of the
I-
camera.
Okay, I made copies of this. Is that what you're handing out, or do you have both pages?
I've got both
Okay,
pages.
I'll just keep these.
I want to wake Paul up.
Paul been sleeping on us?
He's been struggling.
Long night.
Here, I'll just-
Track meets are killers.
I've already got these.
Oh, okay.
You know, they'll come around. You have enough for everybody?
I think so. I think she need enough. Obviously, there's been much debate on this throughout the last 3 months. Administrative decision, this is where I finally take a stand on it. The payday will be the last day of the month, as written there in number 1. And then number 7, if it falls on Saturday, Sunday, or holiday, Friday prior to the regular payday.
So it's basically staying the same.
Basically staying the same.
Thank you.
The only difference is your December is still on the way this stands. Even had review on that with the finance department. I'm going, the administrative decision AP will be on the last day of the month of December. Now, some changes between now and then, that's up to Dr. Van Zyl.
Does that cause our people in finance to come in over the Christmas break?
No.
If
It
it's on the
causes
last
a
day.
headache of getting it ready prior to.
Prior to.
Correct, it causes issues prior to.
Thank you.
So, again, a lot of A lot of input on this in the last 3 months, particularly in the last 2 weeks. Strictly my decision, and that's where we're going with it. I'm just ready to get it done. Okay? Any questions?
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
We appreciate it very much.
Okay. Last weighty decision we have to make is whether or not we should meet on May 17th. Are there, well, I guess part of this will depend on how our meet and confer goes after this, but assuming that the things we want to talk about go through meet and confer affirmatively, do we have open items that any of you feel like we need to address that we would want to meet in May? I'm fine either way. If you want to meet, that's great. If you don't, I seem to have a lot of meetings, as do all of you, I'm sure.
Well, it seems like last year, even though we were ending our first year, I think there were only like 5 or 6
Yeah,
people
not-
or something here.
attendance
So if we
was
really
spotty.
don't need to meet, let's say that, and let's all not be here instead of, you know, everybody choosing at the last minute, which I understand. I know that time of the year.
I mean, do we feel like there's something that could potentially be coming up that,
Can anybody think of anything? I mean, there's no reason why, let's say May 1st, something weird happens in the district and we think, hey, this is something we really need to talk about. We could always, at that point, reinstitute the meeting. I'm not seeing anybody currently that's saying, yeah, we need to talk about this and this and this next month. Are we okay with saying no meeting unless something comes up? And if something does, you email me, I'll send something out to the group and say, hey, we are having a meeting after all. All right, so all in favor of not meeting unless the need arises, would you raise your hand, please? Opposed, same sign. Okay. So we don't need to determine agenda items for the next meeting because there is none. I'll give you a break on the homework. I want to, since this probably is our last meeting, I do want to express my gratitude for all of the time that you guys put in. I know nobody gets any extra pay for this. It's volunteer time. I do think we serve a useful purpose. You know, the more information that's out there, the more good information that's out there, the better that is for everybody. And in a district this size, communication is really difficult. So the more that we can do from a grassroots kind of effort, I think that the better that is for everybody. Again, I do want to thank you for being with us for 2 years. Appreciate your input and your participation, and I'm hopeful that at some point in time this will be the only group, but that's beyond my control too. So we'll see on that. Yes, Dr. Newhart.
Communication will go out on the pay date change tomorrow morning. So to all staff will be okay.
And when we get the minutes from Bridget, who may already have them ready, I don't know. She's got her code on ready to run. Now, you know there's going to be minutes for our meet and confer, right?
yes.
Okay. She must just be cold then.
I wasn't sleeping now.
But hopefully the rest of your year will go smoothly. And next year, I'm looking forward to a better year. Hopefully, we'll have less trauma to deal with.
Just less.
As a district.
Just
Less, period.
All right,
Yes.
thank you very
Hashtag
much. If
just
you're a meet
less.
confer person, please stay. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your evening.